Hello, welcome to Slow Play. I'm the host, Mitchell.
And I am Heather.
So, where did we leave off last week? A few things. First of all, regarding my medical marijuana that I've been talking about for a few episodes now, I applied for it before the last episode we did. So, last time we talked, I was still waiting on that. And then whenever it hit 2 weeks, because they said on the website, like, this is going to take up to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And last time I was saying, like, shit, it's been 13 days and I'm still waiting. But the next day, they did respond back to me and they said that I had to resubmit my entire application because I was wearing glasses and the ID that I submitted.
On the day,
14 days. So I know what's going to happen now. It's going to be another 14 freaking days.
Yeah.
But that was like a week ago now almost. So almost there. But other than that, everything seemed fine as far as I know. I mean, that was the only reason they gave for rejecting it.
That's good. You think they wouldn't have let you submit that picture in the first place? Or told you or something.
I don't think they told me. I would have to imagine that they would have, but I didn't see anything on there about it. Because I even thought about it when I took the picture. Because, I mean, they make you take them off when you do your driver's license.
Yeah.
So I thought about it even when I took the picture. Like, maybe I should be taking my glasses off. And then I was just like, fuck it. I don't know why. I didn't think that it mattered. I still don't think that it matters. How big of a difference could I possibly make?
You always wear your glasses anyway.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be looking like when I go in anyway, but I don't know. That was the reason they gave. So to anyone that's interested in doing that and you have glasses, make sure you take your damn glasses off.
Public service announcement.
So I'm still waiting on that shit, but the other big thing that we talked about last time was my therapy appointment.
Yeah.
Now, that took place yesterday, but to kind of set the table here a little bit, I want to explain that, like, this meeting that I had yesterday was actually not with the therapist that I will end up seeing.
Okay.
That appointment has also been made and will be taking place in January. But this initial meeting yesterday was with, like, the woman that created, like, the whole practice.
Okay.
And she
does, like, intake, I guess.
What does that mean?
Like your initial...
Apparently, because, I mean, like, whenever I made the appointment, it gave me, like, a choice of, like, 2 doctors. And I chose her because knowing that she was, like, the head person.
Yeah.
But whenever we made the therapist appointment, it was with a doctor I'd never heard of before.
Okay.
So that was probably on me being a little unclear on what was going on, but it was exactly what I wanted anyway, because I was wanting to get in with a psychologist anyway, which is what this woman was.
Okay.
So
that's expensive.
No, it isn't. Insurance paid for almost everything.
Nice.
It was like a $25 copay, and that was all it cost.
Yeah.
So
my insurance doesn't cover any of that stuff.
Okay. So I went in, and the first thing when I walk in the door is like, when I walk into her office, is that there's like 2 dogs in there. And I walked in and I like stopped and like just looked at the dogs, and she was like, "Are you okay with dogs?" And I was like, "I don't really like them." I said, "I'm not scared of dogs. I just don't like them."
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you know that about me or anyone listening. Like, I have no kind of like emotional connection to animals at all. They mean nothing to me. They might as well be little robots. It might as well, or even worse than a robot, because at least you can like shut off a robot when you don't feel like dealing with its shit. But like, dogs are annoying, cats are usually annoying. They're all annoying to me. Like, I always tell people, like, if it weren't for the environmental factors that we need them, I wouldn't care if there were no animals on Earth anymore. which is always, it's such an extreme take that I've taken to like not telling people that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it makes people think that I'm weird, but
it's a rare thing. But I've known a handful of people who were the same way, never had any pets after they moved out of their parents' house. Usually, did your parents have pets? Did you have pets growing up?
I had a cat growing up that I really liked because it was like the most hands-off pet of all time. Like, it didn't even use the litter box. It would go outside. It would go outside whenever it wanted and come back home whenever it wanted, and it never had a problem. It lived to be like 17 years old.
Yeah.
And the chances of me ever finding a cat as low maintenance as that again is probably impossible.
Right.
So that I don't care about. We also had a dog that I just had no connection with. I didn't care about him. So, no, I've just never really cared. So, yes, I told her that I didn't really like dogs. Mm-hmm. She got the dogs out of there, and then I kind of like walked behind this like desk to get to the couch. So, I'm sitting at the couch, and she asked me a few things. There were like a bunch of questionnaires that I had to fill out.
Yeah.
Like before I got there, I had to fill out some crap online. And then when I did get there, I had to fill out some more crap. So she already knew some things about me, but she was asking about my job and stuff. I told her I have like a really technical job. Mm-hmm. I got into talking about my childhood a little bit because that was part of the reason I came in there, was like wanting to know how much of that affects how I am today.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even have like a set goal in coming in other than like, just tell me why I feel different from regular people. Mm-hmm. I wasn't even really after like a treatment or a cure. I just wanted to know like what is going on with me. Something is going on. So I got into that a little bit. She asked me about like relationships and stuff that I've had. I told her that it's really difficult for me to make like emotional connections with people, which makes it hard to have relationships. And it's even why my last relationship, which was years ago now, fell apart, because I just couldn't make that connection. So I told her about that. She asked me about like anxiety, because that was something that I had put down on the questionnaires. So she asked what I have anxiety about, which was kind of like, to me, was almost like a weird question, even though it's not at all, because in my mind, it's just like, I have anxiety about everything. Just like about like living in the world in general. It wasn't a specific thing, but I suppose for a lot of people, it probably is. Like, a lot of people probably have like a particular thing that they feel anxious about.
Like, they could list off the things that they're afraid of happening.
I was just like, just living the meaninglessness of life, I guess. Like, nothing really beyond that. She asked about if I've ever had a panic attack, and I said, I don't know, because I've never been to a doctor. I told her I've had like attacks of what I would describe of just like freezing up, and she said that sounded more like anxiety than a panic attack.
Yeah.
So she asked like why I was seeking professional help, and I said I'm really just looking for like a diagnosis more than like a treatment. And she said, well, and this was like 10 minutes into the conversation.
Yeah.
And she was like, I think you have aspergers.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, how did you come to that conclusion so quickly? And she was like, I could tell within 15 seconds of meeting you. And I was like, how? And then she was like, well, first, the way you reacted to the dogs, where you had no like response to the dogs, that was the first clue. And then she goes, the awkward route you took to the couch, where you walked behind this desk instead of just like walking straight to it, like everyone else would have, that indicates that like you don't behave like most people. She said, I talk really loudly, which is a thing that has been well established with me throughout my entire life.
Absolutely.
Sometimes people can even, if you hear it on this podcast, either where like the levels start like peaking, it's because I'm screaming into the microphone. She said, especially when you're talking about your emotions, you talk really loudly, which is like the opposite of most people.
Huh.
So that's definitely true about me. She said, I have really bad eye contact. That's true. That's a thing that has been with me my entire life.
Yeah. You made eye contact with me when you said it, though.
Sometimes I try to force myself to do it, but when I'm not being recorded on video and I'm talking to someone for the first time, I wasn't making eye contact with her.
Yeah.
She said that she would expect me to have had a technical job, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
That checks out, because everyone that I've ever worked with is also weird.
Yeah.
So, like, those kind of jobs just attract, like, weird people, I guess. And she said what I told her about my relationships, about not being able to make connection, was an indicator. So, here we are talking for, like, 10 minutes. And when she said that so quickly, and I thought this was going to take several sessions to, like, get to the bottom of it. And when she said it so quickly, my first thought was like, you don't know me. Like, how do you know this so quickly? And then she gave like 6 concrete reasons of like,
with evidence.
Well-established things, patterns throughout my entire life. Because none of those things were flukes. Yeah. Even the awkward way that I walk to her couch is like the awkward way that I walk everywhere. Like, I have a very weird relationship with like space. Mm-hmm. And she didn't even like know me that well, but I fully believed it when she started listing off those reasons. I didn't even know that most of that stuff were symptoms. Yeah. I thought I was just weird. But like, when I went in and I told her like, I feel like I have like a whole like cocktail of undiagnosed issues. And so I said, I don't know if there's like a touch of OCD in there or ADD because I like can't pay attention to shit. She said that she didn't think that I had either of those.
Yeah. Well, with Asperger's, there's self-soothing behaviors like picking at your nails or whatever. So that kind of fits with that whole.
Well, she said that, and I brought that up, the picking at my nails and stuff. And she said like that she felt like my OCD or ADD like behaviors were probably more of a result of the anxiety. Yeah. So that makes sense. And like, maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I remember reading many times in Asperger's that especially kids, they have self-soothing behaviors. Like it's a repetitive behavior that just makes them feel comforted repeating it over and over. So whether that's like a lot of little kids, like toddlers with Asperger's or autism, will like bounce their head off of the back of their chair or something that their parents really don't like, but it's not hurting them. It's just, I don't know. Okay. One of those things. I didn't and still don't really, but I'm looking into it still, fully really understand the distinction between Asperger's and autism. Which
severity,
severity, but also it's just like different. Like it's almost like it's almost like the opposite in some ways. Like, I mean, it is like a subset or a classification of autism, but it appears to me to have like distinct differences. But I guess recently, within the last few years, like the word Asperger's has been like eliminated from the medical community and pretty much just been replaced with being categorized as a disorder on the autism spectrum. So it is autism, and it could be described as a mild autism. But I'm still kind of like trying to like grasp like the distinctions and stuff. Yeah. To me, some of the stuff seems like almost like counter to autism, but I don't know. I'm just now starting to learn about the shit. So I don't know really, but I've been looking up the symptoms and stuff. And a lot of this stuff is like so me that this has apparently just been missed my entire life. And I fully believe it. She told me that she can't give me a formal diagnosis because I would have to go to a neuropsychologist, which I am going to do because I want that official diagnosis.
Okay.
But she said that she just could tell.
Yeah.
Like she said she's known enough people that she just knows. So she said she couldn't officially diagnose it, but she knows that's what it is. And I know that's what it is after looking into it.
Well, I was going to say a good therapist should be able to do that, like almost cold read you, like just from the way that you act in the first few minutes of meeting someone. Like we all have those intuitions, I guess, to some degree, but breaking them down into like, this action made me feel that way or think that way about that person, their body posture, their eye contact, the way they walked across the room or whatever. It's just that most of us don't think analytically like that. But that I feel like you found a really great person to see because she just laid it down and like was, I think, spot on.
I didn't think I was acting weirdly at all. So
yeah.
What does that tell you? Like she had like all these reasons and I thought I was like acting fine.
Yeah.
So
well, it's always like the thing about you not having a great sense of direction. I feel like that totally plays into it because you would expect someone with a technical job to be really good at like reading a map or, you know.
So let me get into some of these symptoms that I've been looking into. The one that I see across every reference, some of them you're going to have, some of them you're not going to have.
Right.
But the one that I see like most prominently on every website and every YouTube video and everything that I've looked at that she didn't even know about is like a hyper-focused interest on one particular hobby or interest. And everybody that knows me knows what that is.
Yeah.
It's like an encyclopedic like knowledge of like detailed stats and shit revolving around like a particular topic.
Right.
You know what that is for me?
Do you think that...
Do you have a guess on what that is for me?
Yeah, the ICP.
Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
It's been such a... Like, it's like the most distinctive part of my life. It's like the biggest sign of having this, and she didn't even know about it, but it's the one that resonates the most with me because ICP and Juggalo shit, like, is like the core of my identity. Like everybody that knows me knows that I know like everything about it.
Yeah.
And even people that know me probably don't know how much that I know about it.
Yeah, no, it's been a lifelong obsession.
Like,
so you've just been consuming every scrap of information that you could get about this thing that you love.
And some of the other juggalos in the community like know that about me because I can get into like those deep details with them. But a lot of like my friends and stuff, they don't really know how much that I know because we would never have a conversation like that.
Right.
But even they have to hear about it all the time. So when I saw that one, I was just like, oh my God, that's like the money shot.
Yeah.
Like that's the one that says it all about me, I think.
Like a light bulb just came on over my head about like, I wonder if the Juggalo culture attracts a lot of people with Asperger's because it's like it's a completely socially different way to be around people, and you get to put on a mask and therefore be your actual self wearing the mask. Like
I consider that as well because it is such like there's so much like lore and stuff. Like it is like
there's so many obsessive fans like that. Yeah.
So I wonder that as well. But I'm lucky that was my thing because it is like a community of people that don't give a shit how weird you are. So I kind of lucked out in that being my thing because with other it can be anything. It sounds like you could just find an obsession with like anything, but most things don't have that kind of community built around it. So I got lucky in that. But like even as a kid, I didn't find ICP until I was 14. But before that, as a kid, I don't know if you or people listening know this about me, but I had the same fandom for Weird Al that I now have about ICP. I know everything there is to know about Weird Al.
I think that we talked about it like sometime around when I first met you, and then that was it. I don't think we've ever talked about Weird Al after that. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's weird that you would remember that then, because that was so long ago. But like, yeah, as a kid, like, I was listening to Weird Al the way that I listened to ICP, and it, like 7 years ago, I guess, or no, like 5 years ago. I don't know. So like 5 years ago, I actually met Weird Al because he came into my work where I was working. Was working at a TV station, and he was coming in to do an interview, and it was like, holy shit. Like, even though I don't have the same intensity, Weird Al will always have a very special place in my heart because I loved him so much. And I still keep up with all of his new albums and shit when he puts stuff out. I don't exactly go back and listen to the old shit as much, but
he's a great hero to have. I feel like meeting him would in no way be a disappointment.
No, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And he's like, what people don't understand about Weird Al is like his humor is very twisted. Like, just because he doesn't curse in his music, he doesn't get like that parental advisory sticker on there. So people seem to assume that he's like family friendly, but it's pretty dark. Like, there's a lot of songs about like murder and stalking people,
like adult concepts without the adult language.
It's a lot of the same stuff that ICP talks about, that it's just coded differently, or it's sillier or whatever, so it feels safer, but it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
But that's why I love his shit. So anyway, all that to say that, like, even as a kid, I had that same like focused, attentive, obsessive fandom.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing that the psychologist didn't even know about. Like, if I told her, like, there is one thing that rules my entire life, and it's a rap group, she would be like, oh, of course, this makes perfect sense. So that's the big one that I keep seeing. Another one is having trouble communicating with people because you take things too literally. That's definitely me. That's a problem I've been having for my entire life. And I even tell people now, like, I apologize for having a hard time communicating, because I know that I can't. Like, even when we record these episodes, I go back and edit the fuck out of them just to try to make myself make as much sense as possible. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like when I'm talking, I'm not making sense. And a lot of times people will totally misunderstand what I'm saying. And I know it's because it's my fault. Like, there's a inclination, I think, to believe that if everyone is misunderstanding you, that you're just like going over their head or something.
You're just misunderstood.
Once it happened, after so many years of that happening, I started to realize, like, the problem is not other people. The problem is me. I mean, because there was a period of time growing up and stuff where I was thinking, like, why can nobody understand what I'm saying? And really just putting the blame on them. But then when I got older, it was like, okay, this has happened enough times.
Yeah.
I'm the common factor. Everyone has a problem understanding me, no matter how smart they are. So obviously the problem is something with me. So, and a lot of times it is for that reason, taking things too literally. And I'm like super careful with words, maybe too careful, so careful that it keeps me from being clear.
I've never had trouble understanding anything you were trying to tell me, but
not as far as you know.
Yeah. I guess that's true. I just assume that if something didn't come across clear, I would just ask you to clarify.
If you knew that it wasn't coming across clear. So there's that. Another characteristic of Asperger's is above average intelligence, which in many ways, the ways that they're talking about, I believe that I have. Not in a lot of really important ways. I'm really dumb in a lot of ways, socially mostly, which also falls under the same umbrella here. But as far as like a good vocabulary and shit, that I feel like I have. Like in school, I could always do well in school, better than most other people. So like, I'm not calling myself a super smart person, but as far as the kind of intelligence that is symptomatic of having Asperger's, I definitely have that. Like I was always, especially like in English class and stuff.
That was always my best subject by
so
far.
like I was always in like the advanced classes for that. And not just that, but also for like math and other things. So that's another one. Another thing is being like a slave to a routine. That's definitely me. We've talked before about how I wear the same type of clothes every day.
Like a cartoon character.
Yeah, just so that I don't have to think about like what I'm wearing, which now, knowing what I know now, like falls totally in line with all this shit. Another one is not being able to like visualize things spatially. I didn't really see this one on a lot of the websites, but I did hear about this on a YouTube video made by someone with Asperger's. And the scenario he was describing was like me exactly. Like he was saying that if someone is telling him a story and they're describing the room, like, you know, there's a table over here, there's a door on the wall, someone walks in and points at the window or whatever, like any story that involves like describing something spatially, the guy in the video was saying that he just like can't understand it. And that is so me, and something that I've so recognized in myself for years, that if someone is telling me a story like that, I'll just not even try to visualize it because I know that I can't. Like I just it's not like I'm ignoring them. Like I'll listen to the words, but I don't try to interpret them because I know that I can't do it.
Right.
And I'll usually just like agree with them, like I know what they're talking about, but I don't.
That's crazy. Like what, if you tried, like what would you picture in your head? Just a jumbled up room?
Yeah, I don't know what to do. Like I listen to podcasts all the times, and being that it's an audio medium, sometimes that comes up. Like I was just listening to a podcast and someone was describing being hit by a car. Yeah. And they were saying like how it happened, and they were saying like, well, I went into the parking lot this way and the cars were turning in this way and I was walking this direction. And as he was talking, I was just like tuning it out.
You lost me already.
Yeah, it's like I have no clue. I cannot see this in my eye and my mind at all. So to hear that person on the YouTube video describing that, I was like, I've never heard anyone describe that before. Yeah.
Well, I have, I was diagnosed with a learning disorder in math. And so that's like the only thing I can relate to it. And it's like my brain just doesn't, it just shuts down when I try to do algebra. I can do other kinds of math. It's not like I can't do any math. My job requires me to do a lot of math, but it's simple math. It doesn't, or I don't know, like geometry. If I have a physical thing to apply whatever the problem is to, I can figure that out. I can figure out what the value of X is or whatever. But you put a page of geometry problems, algebra problems in front of me, and it's like my brain just won't work anymore. Something clicks off. Like,
okay, yeah, that's
so, and it's like I don't even try because I know what's coming.
Yeah, it's just like it's not gonna happen. And the person talking about that also related that specifically, he said it makes it hard for him to drive places because he doesn't understand his directions. Right. And I was like, fuck, that's me, because anyone that has been in a car with me knows that I have no idea where I'm going. Yeah. Like, that has been something that I've struggled with my whole life, my whole driving life. Yeah. Not even just my driving life. Even walking around my neighborhood as a kid, I would get lost. Like I've lived in the same city my entire life, and I have no idea where things are other than in relation to other things that I know where they are. But like if something takes me off the course, like if I'm driving somewhere on the highway and my usual exit is closed, I'm totally lost. And I've lived in this city my entire life. I have no concept of the layout of anything. It's why playing video games that without a map, I hate them. Like that's why every video game, something that I really look for in a game is like markers that tell you where to go, because otherwise I'll have no idea where I'm going, what I'm doing. Playing all the video games has probably actually helped that a little bit.
Yeah.
But as far as just like driving around town and stuff, at places that I've been 1,000 times, I have no idea how to get there sometimes.
I wonder, there's got to be enough people who have that problem for there to be some kind of workaround other than GPS, but like a new way to train your brain to think about stuff like that. Apply a method that works for you for something else to learning the layout of your city.
Well,
or something.
What helps me the most is just looking at the street signs and stuff. Like if I have to make a turn and I don't know which direct, like if I'm pulling out of a neighborhood or something and I have to go either left or right to get home, I cannot tell by looking or by like and knowing where I am. So I just pick a direction, and then if the street signs indicate to me that I'm going the wrong direction, then I can figure it out and be like, fuck, and then turn around and start heading the right direction. So I can at least do it that way. Like I can memorize the order of the streets, and in Tulsa it's easy because the numbered streets just go up as you go north, and then the other streets you just have to remember. But I remember the order of the streets, and that helps. But if there were no street signs, like if all the street signs disappeared from Tulsa, it probably wouldn't affect you that much, right? Not at all.
I used to deliver pizza. I know every street.
I would be fucked. I would have no idea where I was going without like the street signs. So that's what helps me. But I've tried to look into that before, and I've never found any information on that before. And a lot of people in my family have that to varying degrees. So I don't know how that plays in.
Yeah.
But like my dad was horrible with it, and he had no GPS, so he would just get frustrated as fuck driving around trying to find places he's been 1,000 times. And speaking of my dad, I mean, I've talked before about how like he had no interest in like connecting with people.
Yeah.
So people have told me before that they think he may have been autistic. I don't know anything about that, but makes me wonder. Because apparently there is like a genetic factor involved in that.
Definitely.
Another characteristic here is emotional outbursts, like due to like frustration with not being able to express yourself. Some people have seen this in me. I keep it pretty well buried, but some people have seen it. Mostly women, because that's usually what brings out the most frustration in me.
Yeah.
Some people probably listening to this have probably experienced it, but some of these things are things that I've like been able to like iron out, or like especially like the more social ones. Like I'm a grown adult man now. Like usually this kind of thing is diagnosed in kids where it's a lot worse, but like now that I'm an adult, I've been able to like figure out how to live with some of this shit. So like as far as some of the stuff goes, like saying rude things to people and stuff, and like I don't think that I really have that so much anymore. Probably still, but probably just as much as a typical person now.
It also kind of fits into your whole like it's very hard to offend you. You're not like an overly sensitive person. I don't feel like I have to watch what I say around you, or I'm gonna, make you upset.
I'm very robotic in many ways, and now I understand why. There are a few things that I've seen a lot that I don't have at all. So in case anyone thinks that I'm just like checking off boxes here, there's definitely some things I've seen that I don't relate to at all and never did. like not understanding humor, irony, or sarcasm. I've never had that problem.
No.
But I still feel like my autism has affected my sense of humor in that it's almost hard for me to understand things that aren't humorous, ironic, or sarcastic. Like watching movies is really difficult for me to understand, honestly.
Like a drama.
Yeah, it's hard for me to understand. And part of that is because it's hard for me to pay attention. But now I'm kind of thinking like, it's like a chicken and the egg thing. Like, is it hard for me to pay attention because... Like, is it hard for me to understand because I'm not paying attention? Or is it hard for me to pay attention because I don't understand?
Yeah.
Like, I have to watch a lot of movies several times to even understand what was happening. So that's something that I've noticed about myself all my life, and I think that's part of the reason that I stick with comedies a lot of times is because they're easy to understand.
Yeah.
So I don't have that problem exactly, but I still feel like I'm affected.
Yeah.
Another one that I don't feel like I have at all is a sensitivity to noise, touch, smells, and tastes. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have enough sensitivity to some of that shit sometimes.
Robots don't care.
I don't give a shit about I'll eat garbage and not give a shit. I don't have like a sensitivity to any of that stuff. So
food is just fuel.
Well, I enjoy eating
food?
I enjoy eating food that tastes good, but I don't mind eating food that doesn't taste good. So anyway, there was a lot to kind of get into there, and I plan on looking into it more, but I feel like the I can't call it a diagnosis because she wouldn't call it that, so I don't want to put words in her mouth, but the declaration that I think is pretty spot on, especially this thing about having like an obsession. Mm-hmm. That was the one where it's like, well, this is an open and shut case now, because this is the thing that I've known about myself forever. So I guess that's pretty well figured out now.
Yeah. How do you feel about having an answer, part of an answer?
Good. I feel good about it because I think some people might look at this like, oh shit, I have Asperger's. I have Asperger's. They're like, I have a problem. Like there's something wrong with me. But my thing is like, oh sweet, I have Asperger's. There's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
Like this is just the way that I am.
Right.
It's things that I didn't even know were symptoms that I thought was just unique to me being a weirdo is apparently so common that there's a name for it. So it's like, well, it's not that weird then. It might not be like the majority of the population, but it's enough people that there's a name for it, so it's got to be something. Yeah,
it's funny how your symptoms
I don't even know if that's the word.
Don't even feel like so bad just to know that, like, I don't know, other people are going through the same thing, but also that there's a reason behind what is happening. Like you now know for certain that your synapses are misfiring or whatever, and that this is a known thing that happens with people, and it doesn't ruin them.
Well, like, yeah, the labeling is like weird to me because like they don't use the word Asperger's anymore, but that's like what I'm identifying with currently is like Asperger's as opposed to autism, which I guess Asperger's is an autism spectrum disorder, but there is like a version of autism that's not what I have. So I don't know all the names and labels and shit yet. I gotta like look into all this really, but whatever it is that they used to call Asperger's, whatever they're calling it now, that's what I have for sure. And I remember even as a kid, this memory of being in some kind of like developmental test, like maybe like 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I was taking some kind of test at some kind of office, and I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I'm sure it was just some kind of like child developmental test to make sure that I was aging normally or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember being given these puzzles there, like puzzles made out of blocks and shit,
mm-hmm.
and having to like recreate these figures that were like drawn out on paper, and they would like give me the figures and they'd be like, make this figure out of blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd do it, and then they would give me a figure of like, or a drawing of like half of a figure, and they would be like,
mm-hmm.
create this entire thing, like make it symmetrical,
mm-hmm.
whatever, stuff like that. And I remember doing it like really easily, and the people there being surprised at how easy it was for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking, even as a young child, I still remember this. I remember thinking like, oh shit. I mean, not in these words though, because I don't think I had the words, but this was the feeling translated now through my adult mouth. I was like, shit, if this is supposed to be difficult, then dealing with people is going to be really hard for me. Because that was like an indicator to me that like other people weren't as smart as I am. At least that's how I took it as a kid. But like, it was never a thing of like, oh sweet, I'm an advanced person. It was more like, oh no, I'm different and weird.
Yeah.
And this is gonna suck. This whole life is going to be more difficult for me if this is considered hard.
When I was a kid, I was strange enough that my grandparents took me to see someone a couple of times. They thought I might be autistic because I really didn't like playing with other little kids my age. I just kind of wanted to be left alone. I was fine with adults, but didn't want to. It wasn't about like sharing my toys. Like I didn't want to share my space. Like get away from me. And that, continued for the rest of my life, I guess, and on some level. But then they did take me to a psychiatrist, which I remember when I was 8, and I had to do this like 200 question long survey thing, and it asked questions like, when I get angry, I A, throw a fit, B, light things on fire, C, looking for all kinds of disorders. And I saw the guy a couple of times, and he diagnosed me, I think after the first time, with ADD. And this was all on the recommendation of my 3rd grade teacher. And because she's a real mental health expert that can tell you,
sure,
your kid has ADD, you need to take her to see a psychiatrist.
I'm picking up on your sarcasm.
Yeah.
I don't have that symptom.
So that's when I started Ritalin, and that was like getting on the meds train. And I am sure that if my grandparents were still alive today, they'd still be pushing me to take some kind of pill, because that's how they dealt with everything. I don't know why, but they completely put their total faith in this doctor and started me on the meth for kids. And
Flintstones chewable meth.
Yeah, right. But I don't know. I think I have a few very mild symptoms that maybe I've either learned how to cope with. I wouldn't say that they're gone. I just figured out coping mechanisms, which I think is really all you can do for Asperger's or autism spectrum stuff. Like, I don't think there's just a medication that you take.
No.
You can medicate the anxiety that you have, which
Yes.
is separate from that, or maybe tied into it somehow. But I think all you can really do is learn coping mechanisms to make your life easier.
Yeah, well, I feel like people that aren't like me are missing out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that sucks that other people aren't seeing things as intuitively as I am. I mean, and as far as the social stuff goes, I mean, that would be, if everybody was this way, then that part would be eliminated because nobody would feel weird.
Right.
So
Well,
my hope for everyone would be that everyone was looking at things the way that I am, because it's rewarding in some ways, like to have the kind of passion for something that you can go that deep with. Anyway, that's kind of been the big reveal for me of the week.
it's a big one.
Therapy will start next month, so we'll see how that goes. On top of that, there is like a whole like factor of childhood. I mean, there's the whole nature versus nurture thing. Like, on top of just being born a certain way, being raised a certain way, I know has made me the way that I am as well. And I really would just like to get to the bottom of everything.
Yeah.
So it's going to require someone knowing deep, intimate details about my life, which I guess is what therapy will be for. So I'll let everyone know on here because it's the most interesting thing going on with me right now.
Yeah.
And I have no shame. I'm not going to hide it. I told a friend of mine, like, right after I found out about this, and she was like, "Are you going to tell anyone?" And I was like, "I'm going to tell everyone." I was like, "I'm going to put it on the podcast." I was like, that's my cop out now in case I say something dumb on the podcast. I'll be like, "I'm sorry, I have aspergers. Sometimes I say dumb shit." So look forward to me using that as an excuse for everything from now on. I want that clout.
Shouldn't have got that vaccine.
You're right. Damn vaccines.
You just blame your parents.
Right. So, I had a few stories to get into. We're kind of good on time, but I like to have extra time. Do you want to get into some topics?
Yeah.
Okay, here is a story from CNN. This is an update on the Peloton woman. We talked about this on the previous episode, and it is like blown up. Like, the day that we talked about it was like the first day that it was starting to be talked about, and since then has been like talked about by everyone. This headline says the actress behind Peloton wife has finally spoken. So someone is caught up to the actress who played the wife in the quote unquote controversial Peloton commercial, and she says, "I was happy to accept a job opportunity earlier this year from Peloton, and the team was lovely to work with. Although I'm an actress, I'm not quite comfortable being in the spotlight, and I'm terrible on social media, so to say I was shocked and overwhelmed by the attention this week is an understatement." And what caught my attention about this is like the irony of defending an imaginary woman in a commercial who doesn't even exist has made an actual woman very uncomfortable. Yeah. So it's like, congratulations, internet. Good job. You really white knighted this imaginary made up person at the cost of the woman who was portraying that person, who is now overwhelmed. It doesn't really seem like much of an accomplishment. But in the week or so since we talked about this, I really feel like the backlash is coming from a place of literally not understanding what an exercise bike is, because everyone is talking about it like it's a weight thing. They're saying like, "Oh, you've given her this bike," which is like, they're acting like it has anything to do with body image. And I'm telling you, people, 80% of weight loss comes from what you're eating. So that has more to do with body image than exercise bike. If you're wanting to lose weight in the gym, you've got to do resistance training, lifting weights and shit. Building muscle burns fat quicker, speeds your metabolism, and then you've got to change your diet. That's how you lose weight. Riding an exercise bike is for your heart and your lungs and things inside of you that people don't see. You're not going to lose weight on an exercise bike, most likely, unless you're changing your lifestyle as well. If you're eating the same things that you always ate, and you've changed nothing else about your lifestyle other than that you're hitting this exercise bike for 30 minutes every couple of days, nothing will change. So people are swept up in this thing of like promotes a negative body image to try to sell exercise bikes to skinny people, and it's like that's not what it's for.
Yeah.
So if this commercial was the same commercial, but it was a fat person getting the bike, and then by the end of the commercial she was skinny, that would be a lie.
Yeah.
That would not be better. People seem to think that would be better. It would not be better.
Well, and that's even worse to me, because then you are saying that there's something wrong with her that she has to change, that she needs to change. And that's not what the commercial is saying. It's like, here's the perfect exercise bike for somebody who likes to exercise. Like
the commercial's the biggest fault that I'll concede is you really don't need the man's involvement at all. The part where I see what they're doing. They're trying to make it into a thing of like, it's the perfect Christmas gift.
Yeah.
That was maybe, I mean, why does that have to be her husband? That's the part where they fucked up. Why not make it like her sister? Then you've eliminated a good chunk of the controversy. There's a way they could have done this to where it wouldn't be as stupid. But the part about body image should not have anything to do with it. People don't understand that. If it was him like giving her like a blender to make like health shakes or something, that would have more to do with body image than this bike. But yeah, riding the bike is not going to change the way you look in any significant way. Maybe you'll drop 5 pounds in water weight from sweating. You're not going to lose that much fat.
So what if he gave her a set of weights?
I mean, there's really the most offensive thing about the commercial, I think, was having the man involved at all and being like,
yeah,
here's something. But they didn't see it that way because their whole angle was like, it's a Christmas gift, which still in the right context wouldn't be a problem, but they didn't even have to go there. They could have eliminated that part from the commercial completely. But anyway, I just thought it was ironic that she is now in this incredibly awkward position. That's her for life now. Hey, you're the Peloton woman. Yeah. Good luck. I mean, this is probably going to hurt her career more than anything because
I don't know. If it makes her more recognizable and she's an actress in commercials, that's probably a good thing.
Maybe. Is it though? I don't know.
It depends on her response. See, her responding this way, it will do maybe nothing for her career. If she had a funny response to what had happened,
did, apparently, because now she's in some new commercial for like Ryan Reynolds alcohol.
Okay, so I was
I don't really know
if she had like a clever something to come back at it with, something charming.
There is some kind of comeback here that I don't really know about, but I think a lot of like casting directors and stuff are gonna be like, well, we don't want people thinking about exercise bikes. Like we don't want to cast her for our toothbrush commercial because when they see her, they're gonna be thinking about exercise bikes.
Yeah.
So I think to that end, it's going to
we'll put her in our diet toothpaste commercial.
Damage her career. Diet toothpaste. That is probably coming. Okay. Well, I guess that wraps it up then. Go to the website, slowplayonline.com. All the social media, slowplayonline. People need to be sharing things. It would be helpful to me if people would share content or just engage in general, liking and commenting and sharing and shit. And we'll probably get into like reading comments and stuff on the air. We haven't really been doing that. I've been getting like feedback and shit.
Right.
But if people want to comment and stuff, then maybe I'll add your input.
Yeah, I encourage that. If you find a crazy news article or something that you can't believe has been overlooked, or you just want to hear what we have to say about it,
post it on the Facebook page or tweet it at me.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure that I'm set up to do that. But leave comments on stuff. I'll look at them maybe if I feel like it. If I see something interesting, maybe I'll want to talk about it. But engage. Share the shit mostly. That's my big sell here. Share the stuff that you see if you like it. go to the YouTube channel and look around, because like
Subscribe.
the full episodes get like 50 views, but like the clips I put up of like individual topics get like 2 views. So,
Yeah.
and those are me like watching the videos to make sure they're playing right. So go to the YouTube, and if you see the clips and shit and you think they're funny, then share those around if you want. But that's pretty much how it's going to spread. So far, so good. I mean, 50 views is pretty cool to me. So
Yeah, we're chugging along.
it's getting there. And people seem to really enjoyed my whole depressed diatribe from a few weeks ago. So that's good, I guess. Sadly, sorry for you that it's evaporating, but
Who doesn't love a good emotional breakdown?
I'll have that medical weed soon, and then everything will be good. I'll be a totally fixed person overnight. That's how that works.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, guess that wraps it up then.
Indeed.
All right. Goodbye.
See ya.